The chamber of the Galactic Council was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling curved so high it faded into blue light, and the floor was a perfect mirror of black stone. Hundreds of seats floated in the air, each shaped for a different body. Some were rings of water, some were platforms of metal, and some were nests of crystal and bone. At the center stood a single circle of dull gray alloy. That circle was for humans. Director Kong Dael stood there with his hands behind his back. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. He had learned long ago that anger shown too early only pleased those who wanted it. He wore a simple dark uniform with no medals. Earth had chosen to show humility today. It would not matter. Behind him stood three others. Captain Yuna of the Terran fleet kept her eyes forward. She had trained herself not to stare, even when something unfamiliar moved in her side vision. Beside her was Han Mira, a policy advisor and historian. Her fingers folded together, her mind already recording every detail. The last was Jeho, an engineer sent as a technical observer. He felt very far from home. A low sound rolled through the chamber. It was not a voice, but a signal. The council was ready. Lights shifted. Symbols formed in the air, translating themselves into words each species could understand. When the main speaker began, its voice came from everywhere at once. "Humanity of soul," the voice said, slow and heavy. "You stand accused of repeated violations of council stability." Dael did not move. The voice continued. "Your species adapts too quickly. You reverse engineer shared technology without approval. You alter doctrines meant to last centuries within decades. You resist guidance." Mira felt a cold weight in her chest. Guidance, she thought. Control. Most concerning, the voice said, is your history. Internal wars, rapid militarization, cultural fragmentation, followed by forced unity. These patterns indicate a high-risk species. Captain Yuna felt her hands clench. She remembered the wars. She also remembered the rebuilding. The council never spoke of that. Dael raised his head slightly. "Director Kong Dael," the voice said. "Do you deny these claims?" He stepped forward, one pace. "No," he said. His voice was steady and clear. "We do not deny our past. We learned from it." A ripple of movement passed through the seats. Some forms shifted colors. Others vibrated. "The council did not ask for interpretation," the voice replied. "Only confirmation." Dael gave a small nod. "Then you have it." It lasted longer than any human silence should. Mira understood the reason. This was theater. The decision had already been made. "The council has reached a conclusion," the voice said. "Effective immediately, Earth and all human colonies are expelled from the Galactic Compact." The words struck like a physical blow. Jeho inhaled sharply before he could stop himself. Captain Yuna did not move at all. Dael closed his eyes for a single second, then opened them again. "You will lose access to council trade lanes," the voice continued. "Your relay permissions will be revoked. Shared research archives will be sealed. Council protection is withdrawn." Mira felt her hands tremble. Entire systems depended on those lanes. Billions of lives would change overnight. "For the safety of the galaxy," the voice said, "this exile is permanent." "Permanent." Dael lifted his head. "May I speak?" There was another pause. "You may," the voice said. He took a breath. "Humanity joined the council in good faith," he said. "We followed your laws. We paid your tariffs. We defended shared space when pirates attacked. We sent our children to your academies." No reaction. "We asked for equal voice," Dael continued. "We were given oversight. We asked for trust. We were given limits." Captain Yuna felt heat rise in her chest. She remembered patrols where humans were ordered to hold position while others fled. "If you fear us," Dael said, "say it plainly. Do not hide it behind words like stability." A low hum spread through the chamber. Some seats shifted away from the center. "The council does not fear," the voice replied. "The council protects." Dael almost smiled. "Then you have failed to understand us," he said. "Because protection without respect is just another kind of cage." The silence that followed was sharper than any sound. "Your statement is recorded," the voice said at last. "You will be escorted out." The lights dimmed around the human circle. The floating seats turned away, one by one. The chamber that had once felt vast now felt empty. Captain Una stepped forward as guards approached. They were tall, jointed beings of pale metal and living tissue. Their weapons stayed lowered. The council did not expect resistance. "Not here." As they walked, Jiho whispered, "What happens now?" Mira answered softly, "Now we see who we are without them." The return journey was silent. Their ship slipped away from the council station, its hull reflecting the cold light of alien stars. The relay connection cut off the moment they crossed the boundary line. Screens went dark. Channels closed. One by one, the galaxy went quiet. Captain Una stood on the bridge, watching the stars stretch as the ship jumped into human-controlled space. "They think this will break us," she said. Dail stood beside her. "They think we need them to survive," he replied. On Earth, the broadcast played in every city. People stopped in streets and factories. Children looked up from school screens. Farmers paused in fields. The words of exile echoed across the planet. There was fear. There was anger. But there was also something else. In Seoul, an old man who had lived through 2 wars turned off the screen and nodded once. In Nairobi, a young woman clenched her fists and smiled. In Snow Paulo, workers gathered closer. Instead of pulling apart, Han Mira watched the reactions as data streamed in. "No mass panic," she said. "No riots." Dael leaned back in his chair. The room was plain. Earth had never tried to impress itself. "We have been alone before," he said. "We survived then." Jiho tapped at a console. "Council access codes are gone," he said. "But so are their restrictions." Captain Una turned to him. "Say that again?" He swallowed. "All the limits they placed on our designs. On our engines. They can't enforce them anymore." Quiet understanding passed between them. Hours later, the Unified Assembly convened. Representatives from every nation and colony appeared on the screen. There were arguments at first. Voices rose. Old fears surfaced. Then Dael spoke. "They have exiled us," he said. "Not because we are weak, but because we are not." The room fell silent. "We can beg," he continued. "We can fracture. Or we can decide that no one else will ever hold our future again." Captain Una stood at attention behind him. Mira watched the faces on the screen change. Fear turned into thought. Thought into resolve. A vote was called. It was not unanimous. Nothing human ever was. But it was enough. That night, Earth changed. Old treaties were dissolved. Borders softened. Resources were pooled. Scientists who had once competed now shared rooms and ideas. Soldiers trained not for parade, but for endurance. High above the planet, dormant shipyards powered up. Machines long kept idle began to move. Plans once rejected as too aggressive were taken out again and studied with new eyes. "Captain," Una walked through one such yard days later. She ran her hand along unfinished hull plating. "No council standards," she said. Jiho smiled, tired but alive. "No council weaknesses either." From a distant relay station, an alien observer watched Earth's signals spike and frowned. Humans were not collapsing. They were organizing. Back on Earth, Dale stood alone on a balcony as the sun rose. The sky was the same blue it had always been. The stars were still there, waiting. "They pushed us out," he said quietly. "Now we decide where we stand." Far beyond human space, the council went on with its sessions, already turning to other matters. They believed the problem had been solved. They did not yet understand that. Exile had not ended humanity's story. It had begun it. The galaxy went quiet around Earth. But Earth did not go quiet within itself. In the weeks after the exile, there were no celebrations and no speeches filled with pride. There was only work. Ships still moved in orbit, but now they moved without asking permission. Data lines that once passed through council relays were replaced with human-made networks. They were slower at first, rough and imperfect. but they were owned. Director Kong Dael spent most days in the Unified Authority building. It was not grand. It had once been a trade center, then a disaster shelter, then abandoned. Now it held the future of humanity. Screens covered the walls, showing factories, farms, shipyards, and colonies. Han Myra stood beside him, reading reports. Outer colonies are worried, she said. They fear isolation. They fear being forgotten. Dale nodded. They won't be, he said. Make sure supply priorities reflect that, yes, Myra replied. Across the planet, old borders began to fade. They did not vanish overnight. Humans were still human. There were arguments, delays, and mistrust. But something had shifted. The threat was no longer each other. It was the empty space beyond the stars. Captain Yuna returned to Earth to help retrain the fleet. She stood on a training deck filled with pilots from different nations and colonies. Some spoke different languages. Some had flown Council-designed ships their whole lives. These ships will fail, Yuna said plainly. Not because they are bad, but because they were built for someone else's rules. A pilot raised a hand. Then what do we fly? Yuna looked at the dark window beyond the deck, where half-built hulls floated like sleeping giants. We build what survives, she said. In a shipyard above the moon, Park Ji-ho barely slept. His team worked in rotating shifts, rewriting old designs and breaking sacred rules of council engineering. Redundancy was added where elegance once ruled. Manual controls were brought back where automation had failed too often. They told us this was wasteful, Ji-ho muttered as he checked a stress report. An assistant glanced up. They told us a lot of things. Ji-ho smiled thinly. They told us to stay small. Out. On Earth, the public response surprised many leaders. Markets stabilized faster than expected. Volunteer programs filled instantly. Universities merged research divisions. Military recruitment rose, not with cheers, but with quiet determination. Han Myra studied historical parallels late at night. Empires, collapses, rebirths. She noticed a pattern that sent a chill through her. Exile often creates monsters. She said to Dael during one long meeting. He looked at her. Do you think that's what we're becoming? No, she said slowly. I think it creates mirrors. We will become what we choose to see. The first real test came without warning. A mining station on the edge of human space stopped responding. It was a small place, mostly automated, staffed by a few hundred workers. Long-range sensors showed foreign ships nearby, their transponders marked as council-aligned but not. Council-owned. Captain Yuna was already in orbit when the alert came. She read the data once, then again. They're testing us, she said. Dale's image appeared on the screen. Do not escalate, he said, but do not retreat. Yuna nodded. Understood. She took a small task group with her. The ships were older models, refitted in a hurry. They were not impressive. That was part of the plan. When they arrived, alien vessels surrounded the mining station. No shots had been fired, yet Yuna opened a channel. This is Terran space, she said. State your intent. The reply was calm and dismissive. We are here to secure resources abandoned by council outcasts. Yuna felt her jaw tighten. The station is active, she said. Withdraw! Laughter followed. Not human laughter. Something sharp and metallic. You no longer have authority. Yuna cut the channel. Defensive posture, she ordered. The alien ships moved closer. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. Then the aliens fired. Human ships responded instantly. Not with elegance, but with raw force. They used tactics the Council had banned as reckless. Close-range bursts. Sudden vector changes. One human ship took a hit and kept moving, systems rerouting without pause. The aliens hesitated. They had expected fear. They found resistance. Within minutes, the attackers pulled back. One ship limped away, damaged but alive. Yuna did not pursue. Hold position, she said. Protect the station. Back on Earth, the footage spread quickly. There was no cheering. only quiet understanding. The galaxy was no longer theoretical. Dail watched the replay alone. "They will come again," he said. "Yes," Myra replied. "But now they know the price." In the following months, Earth worked harder than it ever had. Shipyards expanded into deep space, hidden among debris fields and dark orbits. Colonies learned to grow food without imports. Communication nets were strengthened against isolation. Children were taught not just history, but survival. Not fear, but responsibility. Jiho stood before the first fully human-designed cruiser as it powered up. Its shape was blunt and scarred even before battle. He felt pride and worry in equal measure. "This thing isn't pretty," an officer said. Jiho nodded. "It's not meant to be." Captain Yuna took command of the new fleet units. She trained crews to fight without orders, to think when cut off, to act when alone. Some failed. Some learned beyond human space. Rumors spread. Traders whispered that Earth had not collapsed, that human ships fought differently, that they did not beg. The council dismissed the reports as exaggeration. "They are adapting," one member said. "They always do it first," no one answered. Late one night, Dael stood again on his balcony. The stars felt closer now, sharper, less welcoming, but more honest. "We are burning quietly," he said into the dark. Behind him, Earth continued to work. The fire was only beginning. Earth no longer measured time the way it used to. Days still passed, and nights still came, but the rhythm of the planet had changed. Everything now moved toward one purpose. Survival was no longer enough. Endurance was not enough. Humanity was preparing to stand. The first Terran fleet gathered far from Earth, hidden in the shadow of a dead moon. From a distance, the ships looked rough and uneven, like tools rather than symbols. No smooth curves, no shining holes meant to impress. Every surface showed intent. Admiral Lee Seojin watched them from the command platform. She had served under council doctrine for most of her life. She knew their rules by heart. Seeing these ships made her feel both uneasy and proud. "They won't like this," an officer beside her said. Lee nodded. "That's not why we built them." Captain Yuna moved through one of the cruisers, checking stations and speaking with crews. She asked simple questions. She watched reactions. She looked for fear that turned into freezing. Anyone who froze was reassigned. Anyone who adapted stayed. "This fleet will be cut off," she told them. "No rescue. No outside orders. If something breaks, you fix it. If you lose contact, you decide." Others straightened. On Earth, Park Jiho finally went home after weeks in orbit. He slept for 12 hours, then woke with ideas racing through his mind. Even at rest, his hands moved as if touching invisible controls. He returned to the shipyards the next day with new plans. Smaller support craft. Mobile factories. Engines designed to run hot and ugly but never stop. "Efficiency is survival," he told his team. "Beauty is optional." Han Myra worked with political leaders and colony governors. She spoke less about enemies and more about systems. About trust. About choice. "If we fail," she said in one meeting, "it will not be because we were attacked. It will be because we tried to rule like those who feared us." Some argued. Some listened. The first full fleet trial began, without announcement. Admiral Lee ordered the ships to scatter, regroup, and simulate loss of command. No central voice guided them. Only intent. What followed was chaos at first. Ships drifted too far. Signals crossed. Two nearly collided. Then something changed. Small groups formed naturally. Commands were shared instead of obeyed. When one ship simulated destruction, another took over its role without pause. Captain Yuna watched from the control ship. "They're learning," she said. Lee allowed herself a small smile. "They're remembering," she replied. Far beyond human space, a council listening post detected strange signals. Terran codes, layered and shifting. The observer frowned. The patterns did not match known doctrines. "They're experimenting," the observer reported. "Let them," came the reply. "They have no allies." Back on Earth, children watched launches from safe distances. There were no parades. Only quiet moments as ships lifted away, heavy and determined. A boy asked his mother, "Are they going to war?" She thought for a moment. "They're making sure we don't have to," she said. The fleet's first long-range patrol took them near old council borders. They did not cross. They did not hide. They moved openly. Slowly, alien traders noticed. "These are human ships," one said, watching from afar. "They're different." "They look damaged," another replied. "They look alive," the first said. A small incident followed days later. A patrol encountered an automated defense grid left behind by the council. Old rules would have demanded withdrawal. Captain Yuna chose differently. She ordered a controlled test. Shields took hits. Hulls scarred. Data poured in. When it was over, the grid was silent. "Record everything," Yuna said. "This is what freedom costs." News reached Earth within hours. There was concern, but no panic. People were learning to trust those beyond the sky. Dail met with Lee and Mira as reports stacked higher each day. "We're becoming visible," he said. "Yes," Mira replied. "Visibility brings risk." "Respect," Lee added. The council convened quietly. Reports of human activity grew harder to ignore. Fleet's infrastructure, defiance. "They are violating exclusion terms." One member said, "They were expelled," another replied. "They have no terms." Silence followed. On a distant human colony, farmers watched the stars at night. Supply ships arrived on time despite longer routes. Children laughed. Life continued. An old woman said they didn't forget us. Weeks later, the Terran fleet returned to the dead moon. Scars marked hulls. Crews were exhausted. But the ships held. Admiral Lee addressed them all. Her voice carried across open channels. "We are not invincible," she said. "But we are not fragile. Remember that." Captain Yuna stood among the crews afterward. Someone asked her quietly, "Do you think they'll attack us for real?" She answered honestly, "Yes." "Are we ready?" Yuna looked at the ships, the people, the scars already earned. "We will be," she said. On Earth, Jiho watched the fleet return. He felt something settle inside him. Fear, still present, but no longer sharp. "They work," he whispered. The galaxy watched too. Humanity was no longer hiding in the quiet. It was learning how to move in the dark. The attack came without warning, but not without signs. Small signals had been brushing against human sensors for weeks. Brief flashes, distorted pings. Nothing clear enough to point at, but enough to raise concern. Captain Yuna felt it before it happened. Years of training had taught her to trust patterns more than reports. When the alert finally sounded, she was already standing. "Unknown fleet entering outer perimeter," an officer said. "Multiple vectors." Admiral Lee Seojin appeared on the main screen moments later. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "This is not a raid," she said. "This is a test." The Terran fleet moved. Human ships did not rush forward in neat lines. They spread out, slow and steady, forming loose clusters. Each cluster had different ship types, different ranges, different roles. No single loss would break them. The alien fleet emerged from the dark. Their ships were smooth and bright, built with the confidence of those who had never lost control. Council markings glowed along their hulls. "They brought the flag," Yuna said. "They want to be seen." Admiral Lee nodded. "So will we." A channel opened. The alien commander spoke with formal tone and perfect translation. "Human fleet, you are in violation of exclusion order. Power down and submit to inspection." Yuna did not answer. She waited. Admiral Lee stepped forward. "There is no exclusion order," she said. "There is only distance." The alien commander paused. "You were expelled," as Lee replied. "Not erased." Weapons charged across the alien fleet. "Defensive posture," Yuna ordered. "No first strike." The first shots came from the aliens. Bright lances of energy crossed the void. Human shields flared and bent. One ship took a direct hit and spun, systems failing, Damage control active, the ship reported. We're still here. Una felt a hard knot in her chest loosen slightly. Human ships answered with controlled fire. Not overwhelming, not wild. Focused bursts, aimed at propulsion and sensors. They did not seek destruction. They sought balance. The alien fleet hesitated. Their formations tightened. They had not expected this kind of response. Council doctrine relied on shock and authority. Humans gave neither. One alien cruiser broke formation, charging forward. Captain Una saw the opening. Now, she said. Human ships shifted vectors suddenly, changing angles and speeds. The charging cruiser overshot, caught in crossfire. Its shields failed. Its engines went dark. The alien commander shouted orders. Confusion spread. Admiral Lee watched the battle unfold with careful attention. Hold, she said. Let them decide. Minutes stretched. More shots were exchanged. Damage mounted on both sides, but no human ship fell silent. At last, the alien fleet pulled back. Their retreating an officer said, disbelief clear in his voice. Una exhaled slowly. Let them go. The silence after battle felt heavier than the fighting. Wreckage drifted. Energy faded. On Earth, the engagement played out on delayed feeds. People watched in homes and public spaces. There were gasps, then quiet relief. Han Mira stood with Dale as the final reports came in. No losses, she said. Damage, yes, but no losses. Dale closed his eyes briefly. Then they failed. The alien fleet returned to Council space, carrying a story they did not want to tell. They did not submit. The commander reported. They did not flee. Council members reacted with unease. Some dismissed it. Others said nothing. They are still small, one voice said. This changes nothing. Outside council chambers, whispers spread. Independent systems took notice. Traders shared recordings. Mercenary groups declined council contracts near human space on a distant world. A small delegation watched the footage again and again. They fight like they expect to be alone, one said, because they are. Another replied. Back with the fleet, Captain Una walked through damaged corridors. Crews worked without complaint. Repairs were slow but steady. A young technician looked up at her. They ran, he said, almost surprised. Una nodded. Because we didn't. Admiral Lee gathered her officers later. This was not victory, she said. It was proof. Of what? Someone asked. That we belong here, Lee replied. Earth responded quietly. Ship production increased. Training expanded. New colonies received defense platforms built to human standards. Park Ji-ho studied battle data until his eyes burned. He saw weaknesses. He also saw strengths that no simulation had shown. They hit us harder than planned, he admitted to his team. But we held. And next time? Someone asked. Ji-ho looked at the screen filled with new designs. Next time, we hold longer. Dale addressed the assembly again. There was no anger in his voice. They tested us, he said. We answered. Not with conquest, but with presence. No one argued beyond human space. Alien observers adjusted their maps. A region once marked as isolated was now marked uncertain. Late that night, Captain Una stood alone in the observation bay. Stars burned cold and distant. We didn't chase them, she said softly. Admiral Lee joined her. No, she said. We let them remember us. The galaxy had made its first clear judgment of humanity since the exile, and humanity had not been found wanting. After the battle, the galaxy did not calm down. It shifted. Messages moved quietly between systems that had once trusted the Council without question. Traders changed routes. Patrols hesitated near human space. The idea that Earth was weak no longer fit the evidence. Director Kong Dael felt the change before any report confirmed it. Requests arrived through unofficial channels. Simple questions. Careful words. What are your borders? One message asked. Do you enforce council law? Asked another. Hanmira read them all. They're afraid, she said. Not of us. Of being alone next. Dale nodded. Then we answer carefully. The answer was not a speech. It was action. Human fleets increased patrols near trade routes used by smaller systems. They did not demand fees. They did not interfere. When pirates appeared, human ships responded without delay. Captain Yuna led one such response. The pirates were experienced, used to slow council reactions. They were not ready for human speed. The fight was short. The pirates surrendered quickly. What do we do with them? An officer asked. Yuna looked at the captured ships. Disarm them, she said. Send them home. The officer blinked. That's it? That's enough, Yuna replied. Word spread faster than any official announcement. On Earth. The assembly debated its next move. Some argued for restraint. Others demanded strength. We should strike first, one delegate said. Before the council regroups? Myra shook her head. That makes us what they fear, she said. And what we escaped? Dale listened, then spoke. We will not hide, he said. But we will not rule by fear. The decision was made. Earth would speak. The broadcast went out across every channel humanity could reach. It was simple. No threats. No insults. This is Earth, Dale said, his face calm on countless screens. We were exiled. We did not disappear. He paused. We claim no one's world. We ask no one to kneel. But we will defend ourselves and those who stand with us. Across the galaxy, the message was heard. Some dismissed it. Others replayed it. The council reacted with anger. They are undermining authority, one member said. They are inviting rebellion, said another. They are declaring war, a third concluded. The word echoed war. A formal demand was sent to Earth, submit to renewed oversight, accept limits, allow inspections. Dale read the message once. No, said. The reply was immediate and public. Earth formally declared war on the Galactic Council. Not with fire. With clarity, human fleets moved. Not toward homeworlds, but toward infrastructure. Relay hubs. Command stations. Supply depots. Captain Yuna led a strike group toward one such relay. It was heavily guarded, built to coordinate half a sector. Minimal damage, she ordered. Blind them. Don't burn the system. The operation was precise. Human ships slipped through defense layers using timing learned from years of observation. Jammers activated. Power nodes failed. Within minutes, the relay went dark. We're done, Yuna said. Pull back. Cross council space. Confusion spread. Fleets lost contact. Orders contradicted each other. Admiral Lee coordinated strikes from afar. We're not cutting the head, she said. We're shaking the spine. Council fleets scrambled. Some engaged humans directly. Others froze without guidance. In one battle, a human cruiser was cornered by 3 council ships. It fought hard, systems failing one by one. Retreat vector blocked, the captain reported. Admiral Lee's voice came through, steady. Hold as long as you can. Cruiser did not retreat. It adapted. It rammed one attacker, disabled another, and escaped burning but alive. The footage spread. On Earth, people watched and said little. There was pride, but also weight. This is real now, a factory worker said quietly. Yes, his friend replied. And it always was. Independent systems began to choose. Some closed borders, hoping to be ignored. Others reached out. A small delegation arrived at the edge of human space. Their ships were old, patched, cautious. We don't want protection, their leader said. We want partnership. Mira met them personally. Then you keep your laws, she said, and we keep ours. The agreement was signed without ceremony. The council watched in. Disbelief as systems they once ruled drifted away. They are building an empire, one member said. No, another replied quietly. They are building a choice. The war continued, not in massive battles, but in constant pressure. Human ships appeared, struck, and vanished. Council control weakened. Captain Yuna grew tired, but focused. She slept when she could. She learned the names of every crew member. They trust us, she told Lee during one quiet moment. Lee nodded. That's heavier than fear. On Earth, Jiho watched new ship classes roll out. Faster, tougher, smarter. We're not copying them anymore, he said. We're becoming ourselves. The council issued one last warning. Total mobilization. Total suppression. Day-Il stood before the assembly again. They want submission, he said. We offer survival with dignity. No one voted against him. Across the stars, fleets moved, alliances shifted. An old power cracked. Humanity had crossed a line. Not into chaos, but into history. The war changed shape as it went on. It no longer felt like a single struggle between two sides. It became a wide pressure that touched many systems at once. Council fleets were still powerful, but they were stretched thin. They tried to hold everything, and in doing so, they held nothing well. Human fleets moved differently. They did not rush to occupy worlds. They stayed just long enough to protect, repair, and move on. Captain Yuna saw the change clearly during a patrol near a neutral system. Local ships followed the human task group at a distance, cautious but curious. They're watching us, an officer said. Yuna nodded. Let them. Pirates appeared first. They always did when power shifted. They attacked a small convoy near the neutral system, expecting easy prey. Human ships arrived within minutes. The pirates scattered, firing wildly. Human pilots did not chase blindly. They blocked escape routes and forced surrender. When it was over, the convoy leader opened a channel. Why did you help us? They asked. Yuna answered simply, because you needed it. Convoy reached its destination safely. The story spread. On Earth, Han Myra worked on a framework that would later shape history. It was not a law of conquest. It was a promise. Every system that aligned with Earth would keep its leaders, culture, and laws. Earth would provide defense, trade access, and shared technology. No forced unity, Mira said during a long meeting. Only shared survival. Some leaders doubted it. Empires always say that, one said. Yes, Mira replied. Until they forget why they were formed. She made sure this one would remember. Director Kong Dael traveled more than he ever had. Not in person, but through constant communication. He spoke with system governors, ship captains, and civilian leaders. He listened more than he spoke. We don't want to replace the council, one leader said. We just want them gone, Dael answered carefully. Then help us build something that doesn't need replacing. The Terran coalition began quietly. It did not announce itself as an empire. Others used the word first. Admiral Lee Seo-jin oversaw the defense of new member systems. She refused to place human governors anywhere. We are guests with guns, she said. Never forget that. Human engineers helped rebuild old stations the council had neglected. Power grids stabilized. Food shipments resumed. People noticed in council space. Fear grew sharper. Members accused each other of weakness. They are stealing loyalty, one shouted. They are earning it, another replied. Council fleets launched a major offensive to reassert control. They chose a system that had openly aligned with Earth. Captain Yuna was already there. The battle was fierce. Council ships attacked with full force. Human defenses bent, but did not break. Local ships joined the fight, not because they were ordered to, but because they chose to. When the council fleet withdrew, the system still stood. Afterward, a local commander approached Yuna. We fought with you, they said. What does that make us? Yuna considered the question. Alive, she answered. On Earth, Geo watched reports of mixed fleets fighting together. Human designs blended with alien modifications. They're adapting to us now, he said quietly. New shipyards were built in allied systems. Training programs expanded. Defense became shared responsibility. Children in those systems began learning Terran trade language. Not by order, but because it helped them speak to more people. The Council tried to isolate Earth again. Sanctions were announced. Trade bans declared. They meant nothing. Too many routes now bypassed Council control. Dial addressed the assembly one last time before leaving the floor to history. "We are no longer alone," he said. That was their greatest weapon. The word empire appeared more often now. Humans debated it among themselves. "We didn't want this," one citizen said. "No," another replied. "But we chose how it formed." Captain Yuna felt the weight of that choice every day. She watched crews from different species share meals, jokes, and fear. This was not conquest. It was gravity. The Council fractured further. Some members withdrew fleets to protect their own worlds. Others secretly negotiated with Earth. Admiral Lee watched maps change color week by week. "They're done," she said quietly. "Yes," Myra replied. "They just don't know it yet." In the quiet moments between battles, humanity paused and looked outward. They had not built walls, they had built connections. The galaxy was no longer divided into rulers and subjects. It was dividing into those who clung to control and those who chose cooperation. Humanity stood firmly with the second. The empire they were building did not demand loyalty. It inspired it. Peace did not end movement. It only changed its direction. The galaxy no longer felt like a place holding its breath. Trade lanes filled again, not with fear, but with routine. Ships passed each other without challenge codes or hidden weapons. For many worlds, this quiet felt strange after so many years of tension. Humanity did not slow down, Captain Yuna learned. This during her first long patrol after the war officially ended. Her task group escorted civilian traffic through a wide region once marked as unstable. Nothing happened for weeks. No pirates, no threats, just stars. "This feels wrong," a crew member said. Yuna shook her head. "This is what we worked for." On Earth, Director King Diel no longer held daily crisis meetings. Instead, he reviewed reports about education, migration, and shared infrastructure. Problems still existed, but they were human problems again. "How many applications?" he asked. Myra checked her screen. 6 new systems asking to join the coalition, she said. 3 want observer status only. Diel nodded. "Let them watch first." The Terran coalition did not expand fast. Every new member went through months of review, not to judge strength, but to understand needs. Engineers traveled instead of soldiers. Teachers followed traders park. Giho stood on a half-built station orbiting a blue-white gas giant. He watched workers from 3 species argue over measurements. "They're all right," he said finally. An alien technician blinked. "That is impossible," Giho smiled. "That's engineering." Technology changed too. Without council limits, progress accelerated, but not wildly. Human caution had grown with experience. "We don't build weapons first anymore," one researcher said. "We build systems." Some council remnants resisted the new order. Small factions refused cooperation. They held on to old authority and symbols. One such group attacked a coalition supply hub. Captain Yuna responded personally. The fight was brief. The attackers were outmatched and disorganized. When they surrendered, Yuna ordered medical aid first. "You lost," she told their leader, "but you don't have to vanish." The leader looked confused. "You're not executing us?" Yuna shook her head. "That would teach nothing." The incident ended quietly. On distant worlds, stories changed. Children no longer learned about humans as dangerous outsiders. They learned about exile, rebuilding, and choice. Human children learned the same stories. But from the other side, why didn't we take over? One asked. A teacher answered, because power that is taken never stops asking for more. Admiral Lee Seojin lived quietly now. She followed events through reports and messages from former officers. "They're doing fine without me," she said once. A friend smiled. That was always the goal. Years passed. The galaxy stabilized into something unfamiliar but strong. No single authority ruled it. No single species stood above the rest. Humanity was no longer watched closely. That was the greatest sign of success, Captain. Eunice stood on the bridge during a routine escort. She watched stars slide past and thought of the first days after exile. The fear, the anger, the silence we didn't break, she said softly. A junior officer looked at her. Of course not, Eunice smiled. That wasn't always obvious. On Earth, Dale prepared to step down. His replacement, Will,